Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson brings the tale of an unsung hero of the UFC sport to the big screen in a biographical movie that tells the story of Mark Kerr, a man who is inspiring for his grit and determination, and yet also heartbreaking for his internal struggles. Directed by Benny Safdie and co-starring Emily Blunt, we are taken on the professional life journey of a troubled champion of the sport that is now a global phenomenon, at a time before the world knew what it truly was or what it truly could become, in the intense and gripping film, The Smashing Machine.
Please give a round of applause for Mark Kerr.
Hello, and thank you to everyone for allowing me to be here today. You have been extremely understanding to me, dealing with my personal struggles.
The Graviton! Let's do it. He's the best.
There's no way I can't write that.
Why?
Why? Because my tummy. You know what that would do to my tummy. I would get sick everywhere.
No, it's about perspective, okay?
Just let you leave without a trace.
Oscar nominee Emily Blunt, an actress with a range spanning action, musical, and dramatic roles in popular films including Edge of Tomorrow, Mary Poppins Returns, and the A Quiet Place franchise, steps into the role of Dawn Staples, the now ex-wife of Mark Kerr, but in the period covered in the movie, his girlfriend and biggest cheerleader. But theirs was a relationship fraught with challenges that drove their dynamic to toxic levels, something captured by Emily after extensive research into Dawn, with help from the woman herself.
From the introduction of your character, Dawn, in the film, in the early stages, her dynamic with her relationship with Mark is kind of presented like he's the problem and she's the victim. And that evolves slowly into she becomes a problem and he's the victim. So then how did you emotionally regulate your performance so that you could show that graduated transition from victim to antagonist, but not throw off the tone you had established prior to that transition?
Well, I think, the aim is to go on a journey with every character that you play. But in saying that, I think the challenge and the beauty of this relationship is that she oscillated between aggressor and protector, even within 10 minutes, and I think that felt like a terribly human trait, that you can be someone's greatest support system and also their complete undoing. And all of that can happen within the same time frame as well. I think that felt very true to life and to those relationships that I think most of us have had experience with at some point in our lives, where there is something toxic and addictive and codependent about them. And I think with Dawn, the scariest thing in the world to her was to be excluded from being the center of his focus. And that came from a great deal of insecurity, but also he could be fairly impossible to live with and scary to live with. And yeah. I think you've got a character who's struggling so deeply with her own demons, but she's watching him unravel continually, and she might not always have the tools given the givens to support him and catch him and say the right thing. So when I got to know Dawn and speak to her a lot in the process of building the character, I watched her obsessively. I watched endless videos of her like a stalker, and you can see just the full weather system of someone when you get, I've never had that where I get to watch someone and really absorb them and really watch all of their idiosyncrasies and all the reasons why they are who they are. And the thing that I found heartbreaking is that I think she really struggled to find that happy medium with him, but wanted to. I think they both got completely addicted to chaos. I think that was part of their addiction and codependency with each other. But in how to kind of temper that, I just felt that it was really wherever the wind blew me within the scene as to how reactive she was. I never worried about whether she was likable. I wanted you to understand her and recognize yourself in her, even in the ugly moments.
Like on the inside, you don't feel it. You're like pinned against the wall.
When I stand here taking every breath with you.
Oh my goodness! Kerr is out! This is truly shocking.
There's just an empty space.
When he's distant, it's hard.
I'm sacrificing everything. What do you have for me that's strong?
DWAYNE "The Rock" Johnson continues his efforts to take on more serious acting challenges, with this role as Mark Kerr being his most dramatic to date. After a very successful career in comedies and action franchise films like Jumanji, Fast and Furious, and Black Adam. And with his other successful career as a wrestler himself, the Smashing Machine was an opportunity to harness his physical abilities in a familiar way, but stretch them to new levels, while combining them with the character exploration of Mark Kerr, a man with a difficult but significant story to tell.
This film is a marriage of two elements. There's the physical manifestation of Mark, which is aggressive, violent, competitive fighting. And then the psychological manifestation of Mark, which is he's troubled, he abuses drugs. So from a technical film perspective, on paper, the spectacle of one side should hit harder than the nuance of the other side. So how did you find the equilibrium so that both sides had the same level of impact on the audience?
It's a beautiful question. I think going into the project and going into this story was coming in with a deep reverence for not only, I think, the fighting side of it, the physicality, of course, and we also had to maintain the integrity of the physicality because every fight actually happened. And you could go on YouTube and you could see punch for punch, kick for kick. But probably more importantly than that was maintaining the integrity of the emotional trauma that Mark Kerr had endured and that his girlfriend had endured in this toxic volcanic relationship that they had. And also, I think, approach his self-destruction with love and empathy. Because ultimately, what you find with Mark Kerr is he today embraces this idea and embraces his demons, his resurrection, his sobriety, and his accountability in how he treated everyone in his life back then, including the woman who loved him, including the woman who sacrificed her life, everything in her life, so he could live his dreams. And so I think, Judita, when you walk respectfully into this project, you have your main central figure, thankfully, has now been rooted in his healing, which really allowed us to find that equilibrium you talked about and that balance.
A day without pain is like a day without sunshine.
This is getting bad. This is getting insane.
You know what I'm doing, all right? This is it. That's it.
So what happened?
I'm so sorry.
It's me. You don't have to apologize, okay?
I know that you've been questioning whether I am the fighter that you thought that I was. And one of my biggest regrets in life is the answer to that question. I wasn't.
So if you, like with everything you said, if you were to take a bird's eye view of the whole film, because I was trying to do this a couple of days ago, would you say that The Smashing Machine is a cautionary tale or more of a complicated and nuanced ode to an unsung hero of a sport? where would you think it sits?
I think the latter, because I think that, I think the latter, but I also like what you said at the beginning, because I think there is something cautionary in saying that we mustn't let our need to win and to succeed in anything in life completely eclipse our need to just be okay. And it's okay just to be okay. You don't have to be amazing or great or anything superlative. It's okay just to be okay. And I think that is a rather beautiful thing to see Mark doing something fairly mundane, like putting a shopping cart away at the end. And to know this extraordinary life he had and that he's withstood it and he's all right. And I think that there's something quite peaceful in that.
Well, thank you for talking to us and a brilliant performance, truly. Well done.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Director Benny Safdie had been working on The Smashing Machine with DWAYNE Johnson for years, and both men remained dedicated to the project and bringing Mark Kerr's story to the big screen, with the particular motivation of taking the audience into the world and life of a UFC fighter many might have been unfamiliar with, but now could find new appreciation for, because he was a pioneer of the sport in an era time has since forgotten. Their efforts were rewarded when Benny Safdie won the Silver Lion for Best Director at Venice Film Festival.
Just the story, like the film is an ode to an unsung hero and a pioneer of what we now know as this international popular sport. But in the film, the contrast between what he is in America and then when he goes to Japan, there's an entire thriving ecosystem around the sport. It's a culture that had sumo wrestling, so the appetite is voracious. But then the fame and success he gets there isn't reflected back home. So was it a conscious effort to show how the geographical distance was played into the lack of recognition of his relevance back home?
That's a great question. And that direct answer is yes. And that was important to uphold that integrity too, because if you think about it, you're right. Culturally, there was a voracious appetite for that kind of combat because of sumo wrestling, professional wrestling, very popular over there in Japan as well. Here at that time, senators were banning MMA. And so it was hard to get licensed to have these licensed fights. It wasn't until maybe, I don't know, I think maybe just 5 years ago or so, maybe a little bit more, that the state of New York was finally able to open up and have these fights there in New York. So it was so important for us to show the juxtaposition between how it's revered. MMA was revered in Japan, and here it was called, senators' words, not mine, but human cockfighting. And it was very, very hard to gain any kind of momentum here in the States.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us, and congratulations on the film.
Thank you. That was so fast. Maybe next time we'll have more time together, but thank you.
Absolutely.
I promise that I'm going to make this up to you.
To see Mark back out there is truly remarkable.
I just need you to let me in.
With everything he's been through,
The biggest night of my life.
does he still have it in him?
What happens next? It's simple. Am I going to hurt him
Let's fucking go.
before he hurts me?
Ready?
I think so.
You think so? Come on, Mark, it's yes or no answer. Come on, are you ready?
Yes.
Marquito is back!